safe, I'm impressed with the inside of the safe.
I appreciate that, Coach.
He's,
I appreciate that.
He's a little bit more demonstrative and all that than I am.
Yes, that is so true, Coach.
I've been stuck on this word recently, intentional. What's your intention? What is your intention? What do you intend to do with this opportunity that's been gifted to you? I mean, how long is it going to take you to start initiating it and become wealthy? It's a tool. It's a path. It's a method that you can use, but it's not being used. Most people, they got it, like being in the United States of America and just being satisfied with a paycheck. Well, you don't need to be in America for that. You can be anywhere in the world for a paycheck. That's not freedom. I can do what I want to do. So do people in England. So the people in Spain. So the people in... But what they don't have over there is us. This opportunity, this system. So all of us have to really be asked, what is your intention here? What do you intend to do with it? And if you were to give me a screwdriver and say, Bill, what do you intend to do with this? My answer would be immediately, nothing. I'm going to hire somebody they know what to do with it. I'll inflict a wound upon myself. But again, we all have to be grateful that we've been given this opportunity. Again, what's your intention? What do you intend to do with it? Like people go to college. They don't go to college for education. They go to college to what? Get a degree so that they intend to what? Get a better job or more money or higher status or whatever they want to get from it. And so once we understand our intention and where we're going with it, so I'd love to ask you individually something. What do you intend to do with this thing? I'd love to hear your answer, Ivy. I'd love to hear it. What do you intend to do with this godsend that we've been given that made so many people successful, beyond wealthy? Take advantage of this great wealth transfer. Take advantage of 85% of people have no life insurance. Take advantage of, I love it when all the news, people are hurting out there today. It's their fault because I tried to recruit every last dadgum one of them. It is their fault. They said, no, leave me alone. I'm not coming to that meeting. There's a game on tonight. Don't come crying to me how bad eggs are and how tough bread prices are. Oh, healthcare is so expensive. Well, do something about it. You're an adult. Isn't that something? So, but the point is, we can look at the people that quit Primerica and think, I'm glad I didn't quit. I don't know what, but if we haven't started, we can't condemn anybody because we haven't started. And my belief is starting means you're double-digit recruiting, want to create RVPs and wanting to accumulate $1 million net worth in the next 5 years and be worth $3 million in 10 years. So nobody's got their thumb on you. Nobody's got their thumb on your children and the children's children's children. So I think we ought to start asking ourselves some pretty hard questions. It's kind of like a guy and a girl that have been going together for a long time, and the girl says, where's this going? Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty happy. Where have they? In other words, put a ring on it. I mean, are we going to start a family? You just want to live together and enjoy the benefits without any of the responsibility. What is it? Same thing here. Antonio, where is this thing going? Where are you taking this thing? Can I count on you? Are you willing to pay that kind of nasty price for about 18 months to 3 years? And we can't talk about any kind of nasty price if, you ever seen any of these wounded warriors. My gosh. They're paying a price for the rest of their life And so we have to really analyze ourselves, Mary. We've been given so much. Why? Why have we been given so much? What does God intend to do with that? Why us? Why me? And I heard this quote, why don't we just find out together? Instead of having an answer, let's just find out together why us. So is Omar on?
I am. Good morning.
I've been pontificating, Omar.
I've been listening.
Yeah, right. You don't need to listen to anybody, frankly, but I'm glad you did. But Omar, I've been stuck in my mind recently with Dennis Kimbrough, and he wrote this masterpiece that needs to be read called The Wealth Choice. Dan Otto, it's a choice. And most people have not chosen, Ivy, to be wealthy. And I love his quote. He said, the primary goal of the poor is survival. The aim of the middle class is comfort, but the objective of the wealthy is freedom and control. Freedom, self-determination, and controlling your destiny. Even though we're in Primerica now, Omar, a lot of people have not moved from level 2 to level 3. Their object, comfort. And we're here today talking about getting wealthy. Why is that set the tone for today? Why is becoming wealthy so critical? And why did you want to become wealthy? I mean, what was your intention? What was your desperation for it? You got to be desperate for it. Omar?
I believe that it evolved over time. So when I was like really, really young in college, what's it?
I didn't see you wearing anything Miami Dolphins last time, but now it's all.
No, because we're terrible. But I got my Canes.
I saw that. But not Miami Dolphins today, huh?
No, not today. Not after they blew it last week. I couldn't believe it. I was watching the game. We had it in the bag, 17-0, and we lose. We just suck. Yeah. Lousy leadership will ruin anything, and we have lousy leadership. But anyways, going back to your question, it evolved over time. Like when I joined Primerica, sure, I had delusions of getting wealthy and dreams of it, but I didn't really believe it, you know? I just wanted to earn $1,000 a week without a job, without a boss. And I believed that was all the money in the world I needed. And then I made $100,000 and then I made $250,000. It changed when I got married. That's really when it changed. When I got married, I was like, wow, there's this other person that I love that is totally relying on me. She has trusted me with her life, and I'm not going to let her down. And so that's when I got real about, okay, I'm going to get wealthy. And so I would talk to her about it all the time. We're going to get to $1 million cash. We're going to get to it now. This is, we were younger. This is way back. $1 million was a lot of money, And so we lived on a budget, and we reviewed the budget every month. We would have monthly meetings at the end of the month. We would look at the money that came in, the money that went out, and we would accumulate as much money as we could. And then we achieved the $1 million goal together. And then what was crazy is it only took us 2 years to get to the next million. So it took me almost 10 years to accumulate $1 million, Bill. Then it took me 2 years to accumulate the next million. I just did our tax returns. Let me show you this. You'll like this, I'm sure. Right here.
Now make sure you're paying your fair share.
Oh, I did. Trust me.
Fair share, which means we want you to pay it all. We don't want to pay any.
So, I hate when people say I don't know if you could look at line 15. Line 15 is my taxable income, $6,252,929. That is my taxable. When I even say that, I get all discombobulated. And And, that was about $2 million in Primerica income, and then the rest, capital gains, dividends, profit off of private equity that I own, and all this other stuff. But it was when I got married, I really, really, really wanted to get wealthy. And then when Brady came, oh my God, I have another person relying on me. And this person didn't have a choice. We brought him in this world. And then Olivia came, and you hold your little girl and you're like, oh my God. And so really, when I really wanted to get wealthy started when I got married. Prior to that, I just wanted to be rich. I just wanted to have nice stuff, But when I got married is really when I changed, which is why it really pisses me off when I see guys that I care about and their wives who I love, who are good people, and their wives are stressed out about money, and they're not free, and they're still making dumbass decisions, and they're not disciplined enough to go grow a base shop and just get wealthy and get it done. I don't understand it, honestly. I've tried to understand it. I just don't understand it. To me, if you don't got
second level, the aim is comfort.
Yeah, that's where they are. They're comfort. Like I have a lot of people I know in the business, and they have comfort. They're making $250,000, $300,000 a year, $400,000 a year. Now they're not living on 120 and investing half of it like they should, but they're comfortable. They have an okay car. They got an okay house. They're not stressed out. They are comfortable. Even people I know that make 100,000 to 120, 130, somehow, Bill, they manage to live a comfortable life in their definition of comfortable, of course, not yours and I's, on 120 grand. So as long as they can pay their bills, go on a vacation once a year, and, handle their credit card payments and their debt payments, they're comfortable. It's crazy.
One of the things that I'm reading with Dennis Kimbrough, that in order to, by the way, let me just point one thing out. I loved investing money more than I loved making money. I love putting money away. I rejoiced when I got a $1,000 check and mailed a $500 to my mutual fund.
Bill, you are frozen up, my friend. So I will take over until you are. Here you go. There you go. You're back.
All right. Anyway, my grandson, he's 17. He's got $2,000 in a mutual fund at 17. If he just doesn't do anything, he's worth millions. I think 1.6 million at 65 or 70. If you knew that was going to happen, I'll be worth 1.6 million. I would go out there and I would wash cars. I would cut grass to get the money to put it away and to let it compound. And we're in a compounding industry. We're the one who tells everybody about the rule of 72. A few of us talk to people about the power of 3. But the reality is, once we get it in our head, we got money working for us. And like last year, what on your investments, what rate of return did you get on your investments?
Like 25% last year.
And what did that earn you in income? About
$4 million last year.
Most of that is untaxable because you haven't cashed it in yet, right?
Right.
So you've got that entity there that made you $4 million, and you got an entity here that made you $2 million. The reality, we talked about this decades ago, one day you'll be making more money off your investments than you'll ever make in Primerica. And think about Primerica, the USU did make $2 million, but you have to pay taxes on that.
Mm-hmm.
The $4 million, let's assume you have net worth of $10 million and you got 25%. Well, it grew 2.5 million. You didn't pay any taxes on that. So you got a full 2.5 million compounding. So you got 12.5 compounding. If you get 10%, that's a 1.2. Now you're up to 14 million compounding. Now you're up to 60 million compound every year. Once you start understanding the power of that compounding, I could not wait. This is the business we're in. We talk to people about this every day. But when you get it, my gosh, I always thought if I had $1 million put away and I can get 10% of my money, that's $100,000 a year without having to work. That's like at that time, 3 people or 2 or 3 people working and having them give me their paycheck. Wouldn't you love it? They have people working and they're handing their paycheck to you. Well, that's my entity. That's my investment account. That's why you want to be wealthy. So it's got to go beyond, I just want to have all this money sitting there. It has to go through your head and into your heart. This is something special. Omar?
You know, Bill, the other day, somebody asked me, why don't you invest in real estate? And that's probably a common question asked. And if you're not wealthy, you watch all these get rich quick, flip a house, do this, do that. Here's why I don't invest in real estate. It doesn't compound out. In other words, I got $20 million today. It's really 19. I'll just round up for easy numbers. When I get to your age, Bill, my money would have doubled 4 times at least. So it would be worth 40, 80, 160, $320 million. Tell me what real estate I could buy today for $20 million that'll be worth $320 million. And then without the aggravation of worrying about property taxes going up every year, insurance costs, replacement costs, maintenance, renters. Think about in the COVID years where all these people were permitted by law to live in their rented houses and not pay rent. But yet the landlord still had to pay the mortgages, the HOA, the property taxes, the insurance. So it just doesn't compound out. That's why I would never work in any other business either, because it doesn't compound out. Compounding is the key to everything. Einstein said compounding is the most powerful force in the universe. Last year, we averaged about 4,000 recruits a month. We did about 4 million in premium a month. We did about 12 to 15 million in volume a month. I could have never done that if I just owned a regular company and I wasn't actively recruiting and training and licensing and compounding the efforts and compounding the number of representatives, right? So in your business, you want compounding. In your investments, you want compounding. And the other thing that's true with investments and our businesses, the low maintenance and overhead of it, right? Bill, you own a big business. You probably have 1 employee to your business. Am I accurate in that?
Yes.
Okay. So you have 1 employee that is on payroll.
Office.
What was that?
And 1 $750 a month office.
Right. So now I have a little bit more because I still run a base and I'm still trying to promote RVPs, but I've got 2 employees and I have an office that I spend $2,000 a month. That's all I spend, $2,000 a month. We have it split up between all the RVPs. And I will tell you this, and if you're listening out there, you should really learn this. No RVP has ever not paid me rent, not 1 time. No RVP has never paid me late rent, not 1 time. And here's why. Because when I'm promoting you to RVP and you're going to house with me, we have a little come to Jesus meeting. And this is the meeting. This is the way it goes. Hey, I'm your upline. I love you. I want to help you. I want to do whatever I can to help you grow your business, right? That's your upline. The upline is awesome. Upline Omar is awesome. You're going to love working with him. Landlord Omar, he's a mother-er, you never want to meet him. He's an SOB. Let me tell you, the only way you ever meet Landlord Omar is if you're late with rent. Because when you're late with rent for 3-day late, it's $100 fee. One more day, you have a big sign on your door that says loser late with rent. So everybody knows you're late with rent. 5 days, all your stuff is in the street, and good luck to you because I'm not paying your rent. So prior to eating, you better make sure your rent gets paid. And I hear all over the country, uplines like me, that they have problems in their office because their guys aren't paying rent, and it's because they're weak-ass leaders and they allow it to happen. And I have never allowed it to happen. But the moral of the story is compounding and low overhead. So my overhead to run my $2 million a year business is $2,000 a month. That's my part of the office. And I've got 2 office staffers that I pay that run my business, whether I'm there or not. And I'm free to do the growing and the recruiting and the training. And I don't have to. As a matter of fact, every rep knows if they've got an administrative question, don't ask Omar, because Omar doesn't even know the answer to it anyways. And he'll rip you for it, because I'll ask him, is that an administrative question or recruiting and building or client question? Oh, that's administration. Who do you ask those to? Not to me. So low overhead. That's why I don't own real estate. I don't want to get leverage. You hear all these idiots on TikTok and Instagram talking about wealthy people use debt, this and that. Look, Art Williams is wealthy. He owned a whole town, Highlands, North Carolina. Like every building in the town paid him rent. He had none of it leverage. He bought it all cash. Wealthy people, real wealthy people, don't use debt. They don't leverage. They don't want the risk involved. So when you invest in mutual funds and versus real estate, you have no risk. You leave it alone. Let them do their work. You don't got to worry about maintenance, property taxes, homeowners insurance, hurricanes, renters. No, you don't need to worry about COVID, nothing. Just leave it alone and keep working your business.
You talked about the 20 becomes 40 becomes 80. Why do I need that much money? My answer is, I don't know. Let's find out together.
Right? Or why do I not need it? It's already out there. Why not me have it?
It's going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it's there.
And
it isn't like we're creating the money, right? The money is already in the universe, right? So the money either flows to you or it flows away from you. So you have the choice. Are you going to attract it or are you going to repel it? When you repel it, it's because of your stupid decisions and the way you spend money and the way you don't respect the money. And when you attract it, it's because you're smart with your money, you're living on a budget, you've got goals, you want to change your life, you want to change your grandkids' life, your great-great-grand. So you either attract it or you repel it. It's like recruiting, man. It's all related to the business, right? You either attract recruiting or you repel it. What do I mean? Everybody always says, why can't I get a recruit like Omar? Are you like Omar? No, you're lazy, you're non-disciplined, you don't work hard, you have no goals, you have no dreams. You're repelling Omars away from you rather than attracting them to you. There is a difference. I have one of our RV P's named Rick. Rick was earning $250,000 a year, Bill. I was earning $120,000. How does a guy making $120,000 recruit a guy making $250,000? Well, because I attracted it. I talked to him about where I'm going, why this is good, compound recruiting, compound licensing, how one day I won't need to work and you'll still be working your job at $250,000 a year. You either come with me or you stay where you're at. Either way, I'm going to win. I attracted Rick to come work with me. This month, Rick will cross over diamond number 6 in the business, diamond number 6 in the business. He's a direct to me, and it wouldn't have happened unless I was in the attraction business, right? So you're not going to get wealthy unless you're in the attraction business. Money goes to where it is wanted. And another thing that I believe in wholeheartedly is God will only bless you with what you can handle. So if you can't handle a little bitty 100 grand a year and live on a budget and invest money and live under your means on 100,000, he ain't giving you $250,000 to live off. He ain't giving you $500,000 to live, and he sure ain't giving you $1 million to live off of.
You know, Omar, we've heard said that our company is a personal growth company with a high compensation package on the backside. And Dennis Kimbrough talks about how you can't have more unless you become more. Talk about that for a second, and the personal growth in the areas that you worked on, and the money came because you grew.
Man,
Personally.
I am still working on it. You know, it is a never-ending journey. The minute you believe you have arrived, you are done. You are cooked. You are finished, right? So I'm all like, look, right here on my desk, I'm reading the Daily Bread, right? Every day I read a little of the Daily Bread. I got the 5-minute Bible, right? Every day I read a little bit. Why? Because I want to get better as a Christian, godly man, right? I got this new book that I just bought. I haven't read this one yet. You tell me if you've read it. It's 5 Types of Wealth by the Heel Bloom, Sahil Bloom, and it's 5 types of. I haven't read this one yet, so I don't know if it's any good, but I'm going to read it. Because why? Because I want to get better, right? What if his 5 types of wealth, what if 4 of them are garbage, right? 4 of them is, real estate, use leverage, use that. But one of them, what if one of them helps me, right? So I'm willing to read 5 to get 1, right? So I'm always trying to get better in the business. Management, people skills. Listen, the old Omar 20 years ago probably ran you off the business. If you weren't a player, if you weren't working hard, I would tell you you're a loser. Get out of my office, get out of my face, right? Today, the older, kinder, more wisdom Omar might just tolerate you and understand that everybody wins at their own speed. I might still try to nudge you, try to inspire you, but I'm going to love all over you. So it's continual growth. If you talk to the leaders in our hierarchy and you ask them, how is the leader Omar today versus the leader 20 years ago? I believe I'm very different. Look, you're just always trying to get better. You attract what you are. So if you're constantly trying to get better, you'll attract those that are trying to constantly get better. If you're okay with status quo, if you're okay with comfort, you're going to attract comfort. Here's one I heard. So one of my RVPs, I won't name his name, he's my good buddy. He said, man, I recruited this good guy. I really, really liked him, but he's comfortable with his job. And I was like, dude, you're comfortable with your income. So you're him only at a little bit higher level. You attracted him because you're comfortable. You're attracting people that are comfortable to you. If you're uncomfortable, if you're growing, if you're stretching, if you're trying to get better, that's who you're going to attract. You attract who you are, not who you want. You're not going to recruit the ones you want. You're going to attract people that are like you in the business. So if you want to attract a better person, you need to become a better leader, a better producer, a better people skills person, communication person. There's all kinds of things that you could do to get better. It takes time. I got this other book that I'm just getting all my guys to read. It's called the 4 Agreements. And I had one guy already go home and read it. And he was like, it was unbelievable. I've only read a quarter of it to this point, and it's pretty good so far. So, you just always got to get better, man. Like yesterday, Bill, this was an awesome day. Yesterday, I miss Brady. Like, he's in college, he's away, he's not home. Every day when I get home and I drive up and Brady's car is not in the driveway, just makes my heart hurt. It just does, And I know he's up there and he's having a good time and he's enjoying himself and he's growing up, but it just makes my heart hurt that he's not here. So yesterday morning, I woke up and I got in the car and I drove 3 hours because I knew he was out of class at 11:30, and his next class wasn't until 5 o'clock in the evening. So he had a window of opportunity. So I told him I was coming up to have lunch with him. So I drove 3 hours. I took him to lunch. We spent 3 hours at lunch just talking, hanging out, having a good time. Then I got in my car and drove 3 hours back. Only driving back wasn't 3 hours because it was rush hour traffic. It was raining. There were multiple accidents. It took me 5.5 hours to get back. So I took 3 hour drive up, 5.5 hour drive back, 8.5 hours just to have lunch with Brady for 3 hours. It was worth every miserable minute in the car. And I don't know if this was 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if I would do that. Now, I'm a little bit older. I'm a little bit wiser. I'm a little bit more grown up. Listen, if you believe you don't need to get better in all areas of your life, you are done. If the minute you think you've arrived in anything, like, I don't believe I've arrived in Primerica. I believe there are leaders better than I am in Primerica, and I need to get better. I need to get better as a husband. Even though I believe I'm a good husband, I believe that I could get better as husband, as a dad, as an upline, as a leader, as a friend, as a Christian. It's a never-ending journey. Okay, the minute you believe you've arrived, you're done. And I really believe that. So I'll always have half-read books all around me while I'm ordering the next book, and I'm trying to get as much knowledge and stuff out of it. I don't know. Bill, why am I like this, Bill? I don't understand myself sometimes.
Well, that's the mystical part of life. And I don't know why I am like I am, but my butt's always burning, Art used to say. And, I was listening to Simon Sinek, and I really love that guy. Listened to him a lot and read his books. And he talked about the first cornerstone piece of you that needs to get better is optimism. Totally optimism. And I remember Angela saying, Art is so optimistic that if you spit in his face, he would think it was raining out. Positive mental attitude, totally optimistic, totally positive. It's always going to get better. Bad times are here. You know something? We just found out, much like Edison said, 10,000 experiments without the light bulb. We just found out 10,000 ways it didn't work. So I want to talk about that being totally positive, winning mental attitude. It sounds great being positive all the time, but it's easier to be negative. As you get older, I'm telling you, I fight off bitterness. I fight off negativity. The older you get, these kids today don't know what they're doing. They're going to heck in a handbasket. It's so easy. Glenn William doesn't know what he's doing. Mark, talk about that, Omar. How most people, you listen to anything, they just dwell on the negative. You got to be totally positive.
3 people that come to mind. Jimmy Meyer, I've never heard him say a negative thing. It's hard to do. Greg Fitzpatrick, never heard him say a negative thing. Bobby Buisson, never heard him say a negative thing. I've said many negative things about a lot of things, right? So that is definitely a skill. That is a muscle that you must work out. And I was just talking to one of our RV peas yesterday about this, that every new recruit you get, you got to treat them like they're your next RVP. No matter if the last 10 let you down, quit on you, didn't live up to your expectation, you can't take it out on that next person, right? Because that next person could be your Omar or your Bill Orender or your Willie Naranjo in your hierarchy. And it's hard to do because you pour your life into these people. You pour your life into these recruits. I mean, I have an RVP that was with me for 12 years. I poured everything into him. He got up to almost $500,000 in income. And then he got caught doing a lot of bad stuff. And he did bad stuff and he got terminated and his licenses were revoked. And then he tried to bring me down with him. He made all kinds of lies and allegations, and like he wasn't going down alone, he thought. And then how do you have that happen to you where it hurts? And then your next recruit, you're going to give them all you got, right? So that is a skill. You have to develop that skill. You got to look at every new endeavor as this is the best thing going right now. And you can't bring in old stuff that happened to you or negative experiences that you've gone through into the new relationship, right? It's like if you broke up with your girlfriend because she was just a bad person and she cheated on you, and then you got this new girl that you really like. You can't take it out on her because of the last girl, right? So it's a real tough skill to develop, and I haven't won that battle, I'll tell you that. But I'm a lot better than I am today than I was 20 years ago. But you have to work on that, because the more negative you are, the less likely you are that good stuff will happen to you. Because when you're negative energy, you're going to bring on more negative energy. If you'll recruit more negative people, if you're negative, you attract what you are. So if you're investing money and you have a negative attitude, you're probably going to get bad returns because you're going to invest it the wrong way, emotionally versus logically, and all that kind of stuff.
He says that it is one thing to want money. Everybody wants more, but it's something entirely different to be worth more. Many people make their wants, mistake their wants for their just dues. Your financial requirements or wants have nothing whatever to do with your worth. Your value is established entirely by your ability to render useful service. And I remember Warren Buffett saying, it's very easy to make more money. Find ways to be of more value to other people. And you hear all the time, well, I need more money. You got to give me more money. Bring more value to somebody's life. Talk about that, Omar. And now money just doesn't come out of the air. I mean, value has to be created. When people talk about how big pharma, big oil, they blame these people for high prices and everything else. Well, maybe they're right. But the point is, they brought value to my life. They gave me medications that helped me a lot, maybe saved my life once or twice. Every time I get in a car, big oil. Well, good. Do without them then. Make your own oil, right? And so you have to bring more value. And then, like you're talking, I treat every person as my next RVP, which means that you want to bring value to their life. And in return, you get the money. The money is like the guy who walks up and says to the fireplace, give me the fire, then I'll put in the wood. And most of us want the money without having to create the value. Omar?
Yeah. As you grow your worth, the net worth comes later. It's like, people like, I want to lose weight and then I'll eat good and I'll exercise to keep the weight off. No, you won't, right? I need to make more money so that I can make smarter choices with money. No, you won't. Because what you do when you have a little is what you do when you have a lot. So the more you increase your value, your worth. See, to me, I believe that I brought a lot of value to Primerica in general, the whole company. I'm the one that brought codes, to talking about code. Nobody ever talked about codes. I'm the first guy that I can remember that ever brought up the topic codes. If you look on Primerica online, you listen to the investment boot camp, 12 hours of training. I don't know how many people have told me, oh my God, that's changed my life. The legal training, all the videos I've done. I believe, and as by example, growing a big hierarchy, living under my means, investing my money, all the stuff that I learned off of Art Williams, Bob Miller, Bill Orender, Bobby Buisan. So I believe that I've increased, or I brought value to Primerica, which is why then Primerica has brought net worth to me. So you must increase your worth before your net worth will ever grow. And it ain't the other way around. It never happens. Even when you win a lottery, if you've not increased your worth, your skills, your intelligence, you're going to be broke within 5 years, and everybody will take advantage of you, and you'll have no money, and you'll be like, woe is me, what happened? So I really, really believe that you've got to work on you. And it's a never ending thing. It's like, man, like Glenn Williams is a pretty positive guy and pretty upbeat guy and works really, really hard. And I know for a fact, he's always working on getting better. Bill Orender is always working on getting better. Bobby Buisan is always working on getting better, And Hector Lamarck is always working on getting better. Hector reads a lot, like he's always trying to get better as a person. And that ought to be one of your journeys that you embark on long term, and you just make a decision that, hey, I may not be perfect and I'll never be perfect, but next year I will be better than this year. And the year after that, I will be better than the year prior, and on and on and on. You do that and it starts to compound. That also, by the way, starts to compound. Everything we talk about compounds. Compound net worth, compound recruiting, compound you growing your worth and your value compounds over time as well. So compounding is either your best friend or your worst enemy. Because in presentations, I'll tell people that compounding is either your best friend or your worst enemy. What do I mean? If you're investing money, it's your best friend. If you're in credit card debt, it's your worst enemy. Right? So if you're growing your worth, your value, it's your best friend. If you're stagnant, if you're comfortable and you ain't trying to get better, it's your worst enemy.
I think you're 100% right. And Tommy Newberry talks about in his great book, Success is Not an Accident, which I've read 26 times. You heard me talk about that. I love goal setting. I love setting a goal and then having a plan of action for its attainment. It keeps me on track. You got to be one book better than you were last time. You're one money quest better than you were the last time. Every time you give a presentation, you're one presentation better than you were the last time. But the big thing is you must see yourself as a person of value. When you go on a recruiting presentation, I'm bringing value to the table. Yep. When you want to get a client, I'm bringing value to the table. And a lot of people don't understand how money comes. It only comes after you bring value. That's why I love recruiting. I love recruiting because when I recruit somebody, I want to bring value to their life. I want to get them 100 people. Let me tell you, personal relationships. Here's how you build a personal relationship. Go out and get them 10 people. They will name their next child after you. And not take them out to lunch, have dinner with. That's all fine and well. But bring value to their life. Once we understand that money only comes when we create more value. And if you're a personal producer, you can only produce so much value. You only have so many hours in a day. when you're recruiting a builder, like Omar and I are, 4,000 recruits a month. That's 4,000 people a month that are receiving the value, right, Omar?
Yeah. I don't know what else we can talk about this. I mean, it is compounding works in everything, right? Love your wife, do good things that compounds over years with a great marriage, right? Love your kids, be all over. You're not their best friend, you're their dad, you're their mom. Be the best mom and dad you can, and that compounds over time to a great relationship. Later, when they're adults, now you're best friends. When they're little kids, you're their parents, right? And so if you do all these things and you make all these good decisions, I mean, life really gets unbelievably good.
You know, you talk about value. Bo Adams really impacted me tremendously, and I just had interviewed Mike Sharp, and he really impacted him. And Bo was not nice to me. He was very impatient with me. He kept talking about Arenda. You're a dumbass. You're not thinking big enough. Talk about that, Omar, and how how do you increase the size of your thinking, and how do you get out of that comfort zone when you say, I want to get out of this thing. I'm too comfortable. What would you recommend?
Well, there's a couple things. One thing is you got to change who you hang out with. You know, I notice on Primerica trips, when you go on Primerica trips, there's always these little cliques, this little group of guys that always hang out there, and they're all about the exact income, right? So they're all equally comfortable, so they relate, right? I never did that. I never, ever, ever did that. When I went on a Primerica trip, I went out of my way to get around the big leaders and to rub elbows with the big leaders. I went out of my way to build relationships like I did with you. I was in Dallas, Texas. I called you. I went to your house. We spent 3 hours and our relationship began. Hector Lamarck, he and I began our relationship 21 years ago. We're now best friends. I sleep at his house. He sleeps over here. Our kids grew up knowing him. His kids know me. I mean, so you have to get out of hanging out with the exact people that are at your level. Stop it. Go get around people that make more money. Get around your upline. They don't want to get around their upline. Why? They're uncomfortable getting around their upline because they know that their upline will ask them, hey, where are you at this month? What are you doing this month? How many recruits you got this month? They don't want to answer those questions. They just want to be comfortable. They want questions like, hey, what's your investment volume this month? Hey, what's your AUMs this month? I want to slap the shit out of everybody when that's all they talk about, right? Talk about where you're going, where you're heading. So you want to hang around people that are at the next level. Now, if you're a district, you don't need to be trying to get with the NSD, right? You're a district, you want to get around your RVP, grow relationship, stretch. As you grow, you could grow who you want to hang out with. So hanging around with the wrong people, and it's hard. You're like, they're my friends. Yes, but they're your anchor as well. They're keeping you down, right? And I just never did that. RVPs used to get mad at me. They said, we go on these trips. I used to have all my RVPs win the trips. All my Gen 1s would always win every trip. Now it isn't like that. Now, they're more into comfort. And if they win the trip, they win it. And if they don't really care because they're going to go on vacation anyways because they make money, right? But there was a time where they all won the trips. And, they would get mad at me. They say, you ignore us on the trips. I go, what do you mean? You ignore us on the trips. You're always hanging around with other people. I go, I could hang out with your dumbasses any day of the week. You live here. We're together all the time. I go on these trips to build new relationships and learn and improve my skills and stretch my vision. That's why I go on the trips, not to go across the United States of America to go to dinner with you when I could go to dinner with you at home. They used to hate that. Now they understand it now, but they didn't back then. So one way is that. And then the other way is, and nobody wants to do this, get on a budget. Nobody wants to get on a budget, Bill. Nobody wants to live on a budget. Write out your budget, clearly define it, write budget, and then right next to it, actual, what you actually spent. And every month, look at the variance in there. Where was your budget? What was you actually spent? And cut your budget. If you want to get uncomfortable, cut your budget as low as you can go so you can invest as much money as you can invest. And that is the way you get uncomfortable.
I discovered that the MAP program, everyone knows what the MAP program is a detriment. Because, well, I'm mapping 20%, whatever it happens to be. But that depends upon your income. You're not increasing your income. I believe this strongly. You have to be uncomfortable with the amount of money you're making, and MAP doesn't help. You've got to say, like I did, this is the way Bo Adams got me going and Art Williams got me going. You got to be saving 50% of your income for a period of time and learn to live off the other. And what happens, unless you're comfortable, and the only way you can be uncomfortable is put more money away. That's why I believe in meetings like this. If you had started this 3 years ago when we started these programs, if you had been putting $25 a month away, and every month you said, man, I'm motivated. You've got to increase your mutual fund. You've got to increase your PACs, not your MAPs, your PACs, so that you get less money to spend, less money to live on. Guess where you'd be today? Well, that you'd be putting away about $1,000 a month. You see that difference? Most people are putting away $1,000 a month. Go ahead.
And what I've learned, Bill, is when they tell you they map, you know where they map it to? To the money market account. Yeah, so that ain't invested in anything. And anyways, you ought to be mapping 10% at least for taxes. So if you're like, I map 20, so that means you're only really mapping 10 because the other 10 you're going to use for taxes at least in the lower income levels. Oh. And then the other 10 that you're mapping, quote unquote mapping, you're not even investing. You're leaving it in a money market account, and you're doing that because you know when you need the money, it's right there to get. I would invest money. I would want a load paid on my money so I had a penalty if I ever had to. And I have never had to take money out of and ever. Now, I've moved it to another investment, but I've never withdrawn the money and used it.
And we paid 8% back in the day, 8% load. And you're right. I don't believe in emergency funds. I've never had an emergency fund because I was afraid that emergency fund would fund an emergency. And so I just kept working. When emergencies came up, I was making enough money where I'd use that money to pay off the emergency. You see that difference there? I think you got to have the pressure on you, the stress on you for 18 months to 2 years, not the rest of your life. What about that, Omar? I mean, and again, when you put money away and you learn to live on the rest, 50% of your income going to mutual. Here's a big one. A lot of people get a big $20,000, $30,000 mutual fund sale, and man, they're no good for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Talk about the problems of a big mutual. You can't do that with life insurance. And life insurance keeps you honest. Securities, it could be a detriment. How can a $20,000, $25,000 one-time check hurt you, Omar?
It could hurt you because when you earn the money and you're not used to making that much money, now in your mind, you're like, I can relax. I can let off the gas. I don't have to make money this month because I have enough money to cover me for the next 6 months, right? So that's why I was just in a meeting last week with our next generation team, and I was telling them in the early days, my income was 80-20. 80% off of life insurance, 20% off of other, like investments or loans or whatever. Then it grew to 70-30. Then it grew to 60-40. Now we're at just over half of it is in life, Just under half of it is investments. That's not good. The growth stops there. You need to get it back to 80-20, not to lower your investment income, but raise your recruiting and life income.
Well, the thing about it, and I made, again, a lot of people were not willing to do this. I don't know what it is, 30%, 40%, or if you make 20,000 in 1 month, okay, take 5,000 and enjoy it, but you better put the other 15,000 away. Get that monkey off your back. And it's such a thrill to invest $15,000 at one time. You see that, Omar? You got to love investing money. I make money to invest it. I don't make money to have the things because, you know, if you've ever bought the things, you realize the things don't bring you what you thought they would bring you.
I hate to break the news to everybody, but I want to tell you this. Y'all think that you want to get rich because of the houses and the cars and the watches and all the stuff you could buy. And all it's nice, but it is nowhere near close to knowing that you have a net worth that you never have to work again if you don't want to. If they told me today, hey, we're going to take away your home, we're going to take away the Bentley, we're going to take away the executive luxury box tickets at the Hurricanes and the Dolphin tickets, and in lieu of taking all that away, we're going to let you keep your $20 million net worth, but you have to live in a regular house and drive a regular car, I'd be the happiest guy on the planet. I wouldn't worry about a thing. It would not aggravate me whatsoever.
Why, Omar? Why is that important to you? Because I know why, but tell people your why.
I mean, to me, you just live with no stress. Listen, when I go to my doctor every year, Bill, he says, Omar, you are an anomaly. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, with your weight, he says, you ought to have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and he lists like 18 other things that I ought to have. He says, and you have none of that. You have none of that. And I go, yeah. He says, it's just not logical. I said, well, what about if you live with no stress? You live a happy, joyful life where you laugh every day. And you just, he says, nobody has no stress. I says, I can tell you I have no stress. I mean, I have zero stress and I haven't had stress for 20 years. He goes, that's impossible. You own a business. And he's all trying to tell me that it's impossible. I'm like, you don't understand my business. You believe my business is like your business. The challenge is your business isn't you, Doc. Your business relies on you. My business doesn't rely on me. And then I always use this example. I go, you remember Wayne Huizenga. For those of you that don't know Wayne Huizenga, he owned Blockbuster Video. And everybody in those years went to Blockbuster Video. And I asked him, have you ever seen Wayne work in the register at a Blockbuster Video? Have you ever watched him work in the rewind machine? Have you ever watched him leaving the movies on the shelves? No. He also owned Waste Management. I don't know if they have that all over the USA, but in Florida, Waste Management is the number one and the only garbage company that exists. I said, have you ever noticed Wayne on a garbage truck, jumping off, getting the garbage, throwing it? Have you ever noticed him driving a garbage truck? No. Wayne had no stress. The guys working the garbage truck had stress. The ones running the video stores had stress, but Wayne had no stress. I have no stress. I might get aggravated every once in a while, but getting aggravated isn't stress. Stress is worry, right? Worry. You know, to me, I tell everybody, but I'm living to 100 years old, and I really believe that. And I believe that if I really believe it, and I live a stress-free life and a happy life, my odds of living longer are greater than the average person's life expectancy. I just do. And to me, that's why getting wealthy is important. To nobody to have their thumb on me and tell me what I could do, when I could do it, how, yesterday when I woke up and got in my car and drove to have lunch with Brady, guess what? I didn't have to ask anybody's permission. I didn't have to call my office. Hey, Vanessa, is it okay if I take off today and I go have lunch with my son? Like, I don't have to ask anybody. I don't even have to ask my wife. And my wife doesn't have to ask me because I want her to have no stress too. So I know her asking me causes stress. So you do what you want, honey, that makes you happy. And I'm going to do what I want. And we're going to do what we want together. And we're going to be happy and no stress. And when you have money, you can do that. And when you don't have money, you can't do that.
The NFL, that offense is great, but it's defense that wins championships. Well, to me, a net worth is defense. Well, no matter what's going on, the defense is going to come at you. You don't know what it's going to be, but there's enough money there to take care of it, not just for you, but for your family members, people in your community. So I built up my financial defense. That's why we have life insurance. Life insurance is a defense against anything wrong happening that might happen to your family. Same thing with a net worth. A net worth is defense. It creates immunity to all the ills that the normal people have. You heard me talk about this. I want to live a 35,000 foot abundant life. 35,000. What does that mean? You're above all the wind shears, storms, hail, all the things. If you're at 10,000 feet, you're up and down like this. No matter, you're going to be affected by everything. Talk about this,
Bill. I'm going to give you one more so you can use in your example. When you fly on a private jet, they don't fly 35,000 feet. They fly 10,000 above that. They fly 45,000 feet. And you go, why? They fly 45,000 feet because that's the smoothest air because ain't nobody up there. Even at 35,000, that's where all the commercial airlines fly. Delta, American Airlines, United Airlines. They don't fly up higher because it costs more money, because it's more cost on gasoline. So they fly 35,000 feet. Private jets go up higher, fly smoother. That's why you notice they're never strapped in their planes. They're up chilling out, drinking wine, having lobster tails, right? They're not worried about the up and out. They're flying over everybody else. Higher net worth you get allows you to fly higher.
Wow. Okay. Omar, that's a good one. Hey, Omar, our next Money Quest is going to be November the 7th. And then the next one after that is December the 12th. December 12th. So what do you think we accomplished today? Summarize what we accomplished today, Omar.
That you have to get better. You have to improve in all areas of your life. That the better you get, the better your life will get. That the better you get, who you attract and what you attract will be better, higher quality. It's just all about this, really. Thumb, right? The better you get, that your value will bring you your net worth, and the higher your net worth lets you fly where the private jets fly, where the commercial flies, or if you're always in that like taking off space where it's 10, every time I leave on any plane, I'm always white knuckling it, because when you take off and it's like, like people live in that space forever. That's all they know. They don't even know 20,000 feet, 30,000 feet. They never get to that point. But you get up to the private jet, 45,000 feet. That's where you can tell your doctor, hey, screw you. I got no stress. That's why I got nothing wrong with me, And he's a good guy. I love my doctor, actually, because he talks to me and he spends time with me and we're equal age. And, but guys, it's just all about, what are you doing on a daily basis? How do you think? Are you living on a budget? Are you trying to work as smart and as hard as you can work to accumulate the income that will eventually take your net worth to the next stratosphere? So eventually your investment income, like Bill's and like mine, is more than your Primerica income. And if you're only making $200,000 a year in Primerica, you only need $4 million but you'll never get there making 200 grand a year. So you need to grow your income. You need to live on a budget, live under your means, play a game, have every month at the end of the month, have a meeting with your spouse, go over your actual budget, what you actually spent and what was on the budget. Look at the variances of it and then improve it and tweak it until you're living on the lowest budget you can and you're investing the most money you can. You're investing it. You're not putting it in a money market account. That is not an investment.
Excellent, Omar. Well, all right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tony.
Recording stopped.
God bless, and we'll see you on the 7th of November. Thank you, Omar. Another great one.
Thanks, Bill. Have a
downloads@gmail.com. Please send the secret password on your subject line from your non-Primerica email address, and you will receive a copy of this video as soon as it's ready. Thank you, everybody, and see you guys next month.